Okay, today we are going to be factoring expressions. In order to factor an expression, you are basically undoing the distributive property. There are three ways that you're going to be looking at today. One of which is factoring out the GCF factoring out a fraction factoring out a negative number and actually the fourth, which is on your homework, would be to factor the coefficient. Okay, so with that being said, let's start with the first one. Factor out GCF. If you're factoring out the GCF, there are three different ways you could do it. You could use the list to find the greatest common factor. You could use the ladder, or you could use prime factorization, whichever you want. Okay? I personally prefer the ladder. So let's say you have the following expression. 24x minus 18. And you need to factor out the GCF. Well, if you don't know what the GCF is, then let's do the ladder. I've got 18 and 24. And if I look at those, I can see, I see the number 3 will go into both of them. So I factor out the 3. 18 divided by 3 leaves me with 6. 24 divided by 3 leaves me with 8. Can I factor something else out? You would say, yes, you can take out a 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Can I factor any other number out of those two numbers other than a 1? No. At this point, I am done. I multiply these two numbers, the 3 and the 2, and so my GCF is 16, or is 6. My GCF is 6. My brain is thinking before my hand. Okay. So now I'm going back to my original statement, and I'm going to factor out the 6, or divide the 6 out of both pieces. So I'm going to put 6 out here, and it's going to look like the distributive property. 24 divided by 6 leaves me with 4x, and 18 divided by 6 is going to leave me with 3. So my new statement now is 6 times 4x minus 3. Okay, so I'm going to do another one. We're going to do one more of those. And what if we say, what if I say 36a plus 16b? And I want to factor out the GCF. factor out GCF, okay? So what is the greatest common factor between 36 and 16? I'm going to use the ladder. Okay? I know the number 4 will go into both of them. Just any number that you choose that will go into both. And 4 goes into 36 9 times, and 4 goes into 16 4 times. Is there any other number that will go into 9 and 4 both evenly? No. So in this case, I happen to choose the GCF. So my GCF is 4. Now I have to factor the 4 out of 36A and out of 16B. So I say, what is 36 divided by 4? That is 9, and I keep the A with it, plus, what is 16 divided by 4? That is 4B. So the 4 is on the outside, the GCF goes to the outside, and then what is left behind goes in the parentheses. Another thing that you're going to be asked to do today is to factor out a fraction. Okay? So in order to factor out a fraction, it really doesn't change anything. But if I want you to I have this equation, 1/2 x plus 3/2, and I want you to factor out 1/2. So what you say is 1/2 divided by 1/2. I'm going to pull the 1/2 out. And if I remember, when I'm dividing fractions, I don't ever divide, but I multiply by the reciprocal. So I actually have 1/2 times 2/1. Well, what is that? That's 1. So I have 1x, or I'll just put x. Okay? And then I have to do the same thing with the other piece. So I have 3/2 divided by 1/2, which is the same thing as 3/2 times 2/1. These two are going to cancel, leaving me with 3 behind, 3/1, or just 3. So my final answer is 1/2 times what's in parentheses, x plus 3 in close parentheses. I don't do anything else. I'm done. This is it. This is factoring it out. I have factored out 1/2. Okay? Let's try one more of those and say 1/3 b minus 1/3. And I want you to factor out the 1/3. Okay? In this case, the 1/3 is also the coefficient. Because it is the number that's been attached to the variable. So I'm going to pull out 1/3, factor out 1/3, and I'm going to say 1/3 divided by 1/3 is the same thing as 1/3 times 3/1, which equals 1. So now I have 1b minus, well, we already know 1/3 divided by 1/3 is 1, and I'm finished. Okay? Now, factor out a negative. The process is exactly the same. I have negative 4p plus 10, and I'm going to factor out negative 2. So I pull the negative 2 out. What is negative 4 divided by negative 2? Negative 4 divided by negative 2 is a positive 2 with the p, plus what is 10 divided by negative 2? Well, Positive divided by negative has to be a negative 5. And I'm done. That's it. What if I say, what if I say negative 5x minus 30? And again, we're going to factor out negative 5. Why do you think it would be beneficial to factor out the negative 5? You might say it's going to help you because then your x becomes a positive x. And we'd much rather work with solving for positive variables. So in this case, I am going to divide negative 5x by negative 5. Pulling out a negative 5. Negative 5 divided by negative 5 is x. That's all that's left. Okay? I don't like subtraction, so this is going to end up being positive plus a negative. I'm going to divide again by a negative 5. And so now I have negative 30 divided by negative 5. Negative divided by negative is going to give you a positive 6. And that's as far as I can go. My final answer is negative 5 times parentheses x plus 6. And I leave it like that. Finally, you're going to be asked to factor the coefficient. Remember that the coefficient is the number attached to the variable. For example, 2x minus 4, and you need to factor out the coefficient. Well, 2 is my coefficient. So I'm going to factor out the 2. Divide by 2, so 2 comes out. 2 divided by 2 is x, minus, divide 4 by 2, x minus 2. Now, is it going to change anything if I change this to 2x plus negative 4? I'm still being asked to factor out the 2. I leave in an x plus negative 2. Are these two statements the same? Yes, they are. Okay, one more. Again, factor out coef. Okay, so we're going to say 2.2x plus 4.4. Got to factor out the coefficient. 2.2 comes out. 2.2 divided by 2.2 is x, plus, what is 4.4 divided by 2.2? .4 divided by 2.2 is going to be equivalent or equal to 2. So my final answer then is 2.2 times parentheses x plus 2 close parentheses. Now, your assignment today, I want you to do 1 through 17 all in the packet that I have given you on page 93. That is it.